Join the movement. Go all electric with Pure Electric.
GOODHOUSE62 first began with Ruth and James sending us an inquiry in October 2019. They had read an article about what we do in Sanctuary magazine and wanted to have a chat about the possibilities for a solar sustainable home on a site they had just bought in Hove. The site had an existing 60s brick home on a 760 square metre block. Ruth and James were keen to build a high-performance home suitable for ageing in place. This new home needed to have wider circulation spaces, low thresholds, wider doorways, and more open wet areas for future provision for handrails. The home also needed to be flexible enough to accommodate a potential live-in carer or family member. Ruth and James are also keen gardeners, so we also needed to consider this in the design of their home. Internal and external living spaces needed to have a strong connection. The siting of the home was largely determined by the required setbacks in the local development plan. We pushed the house as close to the street as possible and built the garage on boundary. This helped us to maximise rear northern aspect of the home and garden. The house itself ended up being 198 square metres with a 49 square metre under the main roof garage. The living zone is 146 square metres with an extra zone of 51 square metres comprising of 2 bedrooms and bathroom. Whilst there would be a need for a few shared facilities like the laundry and entry, either bedroom 2 or 3 could become a living room fitted out with a kitchenette in the future. Solar access is optimal in the living zones of this home, with the winter sun reaching deep into the floor plate. Natural ventilation was a specific requirement and is managed beautifully by Ruth and James. This area consistently gets lovely evening breeze, and this is funneled through the house using key ventilation windows and doors. Whilst there is effective north-facing windows in the dining, sitting and study areas, there is obviously some eastern and western windows required in a design like this. The eastern windows have a simple external awning that shades these 2 windows until the eaves kick in at 10 AM in summer. The western condition has been dealt with using a 1.8 metre recess. This has allowed us to grab some southern and northern windows, as well as effectively shade the western windows, particularly in bedroom 1. To further add to this protection, Ruth and James have created a structure for some vines to provide some vertical shading. This is a good example of how Ruth and James have crafted landscape elements and garden to manage the environmental conditions. The operable shading structure and deciduous vines on the north, the timber slat screen on the eastern side of the deck, the espalier trees on the north of the study windows are all carefully positioned to maximise internal and external living comfort. All of these garden elements are also highly visible from the internal living spaces. This creates a strong connection to the garden from many of these rooms. Along with the effective passive heating and cooling inherent in the design, the active heating and cooling consist of heat pump hot water, ceiling fans to all rooms, and a multi-head split AC system that is rarely needed. GOODHOUSE62 is operating beyond our expectations in terms of thermal comfort and energy use. A modest 5.5 kilowatt system has been easily meeting the daily usage of around 5 kilowatt hours a day. In fact, they have been exporting far more back into the grid. A recent addition of an 11 kilowatt battery is proving to be the key to a life off-grid. The construction ingredients are typical Goodhouse. Insulated waffle pod slab on ground, 140 stud walls with minimum R4 insulation and R6 insulation in the roof, as well as UPVC double glazed windows and doors. Beautiful polished concrete floors are a feature throughout as the main thermal mass element, along with some carefully positioned brick thermal mass walls. A palette of Colorbond steel, Scion Axon and hardwood cladding has been utilised to create a modern yet appropriate street personality. The deck and screening is also hardwood. Ruth and James are very pleased with their home. They continue to experiment with ways to effectively sail their home in sync with the local environmental conditions. They are also really enjoying creating their beautiful and productive garden, which is encouraging local biodiversity and creating much needed local green space. We all look forward to watching as this residential development continues to be a wonderful example of a truly regenerative project.